Mike White, I feel like that's a good transition into our fantasy start sit segment. Because my fantasy start for this week, again, a player that if you have the ability to, I think you jam into your lineup. You don't think twice about it. It's Michael Carter, running back for the Jets. With Mike White under center, Michael Carter has been just such a great fantasy running back because Mike White is just dump off central. And especially with you're getting a matchup this week against the Buffalo Bills, where I expect Buffalo to win by a sizable margin, which should mean that the Jets are going to be passing the ball a lot. And with Mike White behind under center, we saw it in the Bengals game, and we saw it in the start, at least, of the Indianapolis game. Mike White likes to dump the ball off. So it's going to be Elijah Moore, Jamison Crowder, and mostly Ty Johnson, Michael Carter out of the backfield. I think Carter is matchup independent, which is something you don't get a lot in fantasy football. You see it with guys this year like DeAndre Swift, where you're on just such a bad team that you're going to get a lot of touches, and valuable ones, especially with Carter out of the backfield, catching passes. So I think if you have the ability to, you start him, throw him in your flex, or you throw him in your running back spot. Some people may panic because the end of the game against Indianapolis it wasn't the best stat line he's put up this year, but I feel like you don't panic. You keep him in your lineup. He's my start.
Yeah. So I agree with you there. I actually drafted him in fantasy in like 4 leagues. Because I was very high on Michael Carter coming in. Again, we've talked about it, I think last week or one of the pod episodes, Jack and I, how we love the pick. It was a 4th rounder out of UNC, but my start, I haven't even told Jack this. It's going to surprise him. It's Hunter Renfrow from the Raiders. I thought that was just, when I saw that, I was like, damn, I gotta take that one because, again, Carr, my one knock on him, as much as I love him, and I think we talked about it before the show, that how much, we've grown to like Derek Carr. My one knock on him is he does target guys a little bit too much. He gets a little bit too fixated on guys, and especially Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. But hey, if you have Renfrow in fantasy, that's going to help you. And especially without, guys like Henry Ruggs, just out there, who's kind of been the other guy who is taking targets away. I think Renfrow is just such an easy guy to grab reception. So if you have him in PPR, I think you start him against this KC defense that just isn't good. And I think Renfrow is going to see a little bit of linebackers, especially him being in the slot. And if you got Sorensen on Hunter Renfrow, good luck, dude. Good luck. I hate Daniel Sorensen, especially because of that helmet thing he had on Rashard Higgins in the playoffs. So please, Raiders, please find a way to get Renfrow and Sorensen so he could absolutely torch him and make Sorensen look silly like Lazard did last week. But yeah, I'd say you start that guy. I think he's going to get some catches. I think he's had above 6 points in every single game this year. So
I want to say he's been double digit in almost every except one in PPR leagues.
And that was the one he had 6.6. So he's basically a high floor, not really a high ceiling, but
he's got no ceiling. He's the exact same guy every year, every week, unless he scores a touchdown, which rarely happens.
Yeah. So I would say, if you want a guy that is going to get you points and you just need that, especially on a Sunday 5:20 game or 8:20 if you're in the East Coast, I'd say you start him.
He's kind of a guaranteed 12 points from the flex spot in PPR leagues. And I think that's the distinction that needs to be made. Don't start him in a non-PPR league. There's better options, but
there's probably better options, but it is a favorable matchup. And I think he does get, a decent amount of yards and maybe a touchdown against this KC.
Yeah. We'll see if he gets in the end zone. Obviously that boosts his stock up so much. Shrikar's start this week was
Carson Wentz.
Walk it to him, Wentz.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. They're playing the Jaguars this week. One thing that if I was going to make a little counterpoint to Shrikar's start is you might have them running the ball a lot, but even we saw that last week and Wentz was still able to convert in the red zone and get some passing touchdowns and rack up some points. I'm starting Wentz in one league this week over Kyler Murray, just in case. If Murray,
I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. Literally. If Murray plays, it'll be more of a game time decision, but I don't know. I feel good about Wentz this week against Jacksonville. So I think it definitely makes sense as a start. Probably rank Carson Wentz as like a top 12 quarterback this week. Just chalk it up to the matchup. My fantasy sit this week.
He beats on bad teams.
He does. He definitely does.
So start him.
Yeah. And definitely start Jonathan Taylor because this dude's going to go off again. Fantasy sit this week is going to be DJ Moore. And that it may seem crazy to say, considering that a lot of people still consider DJ Moore as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, just because of that crazy start he had to the season where he was just putting up, he was a PPR nightmare. But since that start, he's been the wide receiver 65 when it comes to points per game in fantasy football. Sam Darnold has been bad, but PJ Walker is worse. The Arizona defense is one of the more surprising defenses we've seen this year. He could get shadowed by Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
And while the volume that he was getting from Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers offense was really good and very valuable to start the season. I just feel like you can't say the same thing about the Panthers, this offense, DJ Moore. I think that you kind of have to start looking into the numbers a little bit more as opposed to being clouded by the way you started the season. Of course, if you can't afford, don't start. It's interesting. Would I start a guy like Hunter Renfrow over DJ Moore? I think I probably would.
I would.
You go down the list, like if you're starting guys like Elijah Moore or like Rashad Bateman, like some of those guys that maybe are more of those waiver wire targets, maybe you still lean with Moore. You bank on the upside, but I just feel like there is definitely not the upside that was there at the beginning of the season. Plus, this offense gets Christian McCaffrey back. I just feel like it's kind of an easy sit choice. And it's a hard one to like actually do with your roster because it's a tough pill to swallow. But I think you have to sit DJ Moore, and I think we can't consider him wide receiver 1, maybe even not a wide receiver 2 in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, it's been disappointing, especially because I do have him in a league. But my sit of the week, I know this one last week too, he didn't play it. This one, I'm going to stay with the Cardinals-Panthers game. It's going to be Deandre Hopkins. I think he's going to play, and I know you would want to put him in just because, again, kind of the name that he brings and considering where he was drafted. But look, stay away from a guy like that. I know just one, the injury concern, and 2, and even if he does play, right, like he's going to probably get shadowed by Stephon Gilmore, and he's not. Look, this Cardinals offense, it's got 5 valid pass catchers, 5 like that. That's so many. And even if, Colt McCoy or Kyler, whoever's under center, they're going to have a plethora of options to spread the ball to. Right. So, and I feel like, especially with Arizona, I feel like they're going to run the ball a lot more, right? Get James Conner going, even out the backfield as a receiving back. He had some good receiving touches last week. Just stay away from Cardinals receivers in general. I would say it's hard to really pinpoint one. But if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't go, maybe Christian Kirk. He did have a good game last week, but again, I wouldn't start D-Hop.
So James Conner in PPR leagues had like 40.1 points last week. Is he going over or under 20 points this week?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I'm starting him in 2 leagues, so I really don't want to jinx it. But I think, look, 20 points is a big margin. I really just depends on, I think he used to be a very touchdown dependent back.
He still is. I mean, that's the crazy thing. It's like every week.
But the thing is, now he's going to get volume.
That's
because
true.
Chase Edmonds isn't there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think, you could definitely bank on the over, but I'm just going to say under. So I jinx it. Yeah. Knock on wood for that. He gets over 20 points. It'll help me in a lot of leagues. But yeah, I think I think that's a good, here's what I would say. I think 20.5 is a good over under to put for him. And I think boom, like, how in ESPN they do the boom bust
potential.
I think 20 points is the perfect place to say. If he goes over, that's a definite boom. And if he goes like under like 12, it's a bust because considering the volume that he's going to get.
One interesting sit I was thinking about this week was actually Aaron Jones. And I mean, that's just crazy to say since he's like the running back 6, I think, on the season or something like that. But in recent weeks, especially last week, he's been pretty disappointing. And what I would chalk up last week too is the fact that without Aaron Rodgers, they needed to protect Jordan Love. They used Aaron Jones in pass protection so much because he's clearly the better pass protecting back compared to AJ Dillon. So I feel like if Aaron Rodgers does not play, Aaron Jones is a very interesting set. Like in one league, as of right now, I'm kind of assuming Rodgers doesn't play, so I'm starting Dearness Johnson over Aaron Jones. And it sucks. I mean, I've got that team. That's a pretty
good back.
The team, that team. I have DeAndre Swift, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, and I picked up Dearness Johnson this week. And it's like, I don't know, it's a pretty tough one. But I feel like if you have the ability to, like I would say, I think I do in that league, you maybe start to think about sitting Aaron Jones if you don't have Aaron Rodgers playing. Streetcar sit this week was Adam Thielen going against the Baltimore Ravens, the Minnesota Vikings, the Los Angeles Chargers going against. They're going to get Dalvin Cook going. And I think that's where the rationale was for Streetcar is they're going to run the ball a lot, less targets for Adam Thielen. A disappointing week last week because, he's the wide receiver 2 in that offense.
No. He garnered all the double teams by Marlon and I believe not Deshaun Elliott because he's injured. I think it was Tavon Young. No, I forget who. They might have put Fuller on him. I don't remember, but they double teamed him so much. And if you look at the throws that Kirk Cousins had thrown him, he had 7 targets, and 4 out of those missed ones were just awful throws. So
it's like Baker to Odell.
Yes, exactly. But worse because it's Kirk Cousins to a guy that I really like versus Baker to a guy that I don't like. So that made me really mad. But yeah, I guess I can see the reasoning for Adam Thielen. I'm still gonna start him because he's one of my favorite receivers in the game. But, I can see his reasoning.
Yeah. So again, like we say every week, if you have more of these fantasy start questions, you're watching this on YouTube, just leave them down in the comment section below, your specific ones, because we'd be happy to get back to you guys, whether you're watching this as a full episode or as a clip on YouTube. Just leave them down there in the comment section. You can also go over to our Instagram, and we'll try and put up a poll asking you guys for your specific start decisions, because we want to get you guys some
our record's
wins.
pretty good. We've got a pretty good resume so far.
Pretty good track record. We started this 2 weeks ago, and I feel like we're over like 75%.
We've only missed one, and that was the Cook's garbage time.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one.
Yeah. I don't think, I forget who my start was last week. Taysom Hill, he didn't play. So
yeah. Yeah. So like we were all like 1-1 because the guys that we had didn't didn't play. Like Kyler didn't.
That's
play.
exactly what I said. I said start Taysom Hill if he plays. And I don't know what they're doing with Trevor Siemian. Like, why are you starting Trevor Siemian?
Yeah. I mean, hey, he scored like, he came back down 16. So
that's true.
Yeah. So we'll see.